Please welcome Doris. She is also going to show you an integration showcase.
Can you hear me? Way back, can I actually use this? Yeah, that should be fine. I'll just come closer to the microphone. All right. Thanks for joining this session. We'll just continue with translation management software that integrates memoQ. Hi, Suzanne. Come and join. Yeah, so I know that some of you are working with Plunet already, and that some of you are actually working with the integration as well. What I decided to do is actually also point out a few of the new features that we just released a couple of weeks ago with our new version. I'm not going to show any general Plunet stuff. If you're interested in that, feel free to come by our booth and talk to us personally. So I'm just going to show you a project with the integration. I'm not going to show the automated way. So I'm actually creating it directly in the system, so you can see the features that I'm applying, and you can see how a project manager would do it in the system. So let's create a project. I'm actually going to show one that I create manually, but of course there are different ways how you can create a project in the system. You can receive emails from clients and generate a project from that. You can connect Plunet with content management systems and use the files from that. You can have customers create their own requests using the customer portal in Plunet, so there are a million different ways how you can get to the point where I'm right now. So yeah, this is in order. The integration, of course, does the exact same thing in quotes as well. Both are pretty much types of projects or phases of projects. But the functionality behind them is pretty much identical. So everything that you see right here could also be easily applied to a quote. I'm already set up as a project manager, and I'm going to select a client next, which is going to generate a few other things in the background. It's applying languages, it's applying price lists automatically, it can apply different templates automatically, which is also the case for memoQ. So I created a memoQ specific template in the system before that is automatically applied to make sure that if I use the same translation memories for that client for certain language combinations, I don't have to select them manually. What else do we need? We need a project name. I'm going to call it memoQfest project. There's a lot going on next door. Sounds way more exciting than here. I think we're in the wrong room. Okay, due date. Wow, we're totally wrong. So in Plunet you can customize a lot of different things, right? You can set up your own properties, you can set up your own text modules, you can set up different settings as well. I think Shani is going to shout at them. Okay. Something that is also active in this particular order, which you may not have seen before, is what we call a multi-team project, which is really, thank you, which is really a really cool feature, especially for very large language departments or very large language service providers. I'm just going to explain it because it's a bit difficult to show. So let's assume that you have a project with 25 languages and you want to distribute that to offices in, I don't know, 10 different countries, right? What happens in Plunet in an order like that is it gets a lot of items, one item per language combination. And our clients realized, wait a minute, if we assign this to a certain office and set like a supervisor for those language combinations, it can get wild. It can take you a minute to actually get the information that you're looking for. So what we implemented are so-called multi-team projects that allow you to assign a supervisor for certain language combinations. And when they log into Plunet, they will only see the relevant information that they actually need to see. So out of the 25 languages that you have in your order, they will still see the different language combinations besides that, but they will only see the items and the workflows in the items that they are in charge of. So yeah, that was a pretty cool thing that we implemented. I mean, this was available before, but some of you may not have seen it because it's a module that you need to activate. So this is already available in Plunet 7.2. All right, so what information from here is going to be transferred to memoQ? Of course, it's up to you. You can customize that. It's not set in stone. But what we are going to transfer, what we can transfer are different numbers, the project numbers, called order number, of course the project name. You can transfer the project category, you can transfer due dates, you can transfer properties and text modules, and even different types of Plunet flags. So there are different things that you can actually customize to your needs. Why do you need to be able to customize it? Because when you work with memoQ templates in particular, it is possible to automatically apply certain TMs, to apply certain term bases to your projects there without having to select them directly in Plunet. There are different ways how you can do this. But you can actually use this information and on top also the customer information, language information, to automatically apply memoQ resources in the project there without having to select anything manually. Yeah, and that's what we can use this for, and that's what we can define how the different fields should be used and what information should be filled into those fields when you create the project with the integration. We still need a language combination. I'm going to use German because that's an awesome language. I'm going to upload some source files as well. We have dedicated folders that Plunet uses to import those files. There's even a bilingual one in case you want to translate files using memoQ xlifs. I'm going to use small ones so that we don't have to translate too much later on when I log in as a translator to memoQ. You can also apply memoQ filters here if you like. You can also apply memoQ filters using memoQ templates. So again, there are different ways how you can do things depending on your prerequisites and how you worked with memoQ before implementing Plunet. And here you can see that the integration is already set. You can see that a template has been applied. And you can see that there are different kinds of settings that the system uses or applies to memoQ projects. In addition, you could also use memoQ templates. So currently I'm not using a memoQ template. I could if I wanted. Those are pretty much basic project settings that you can apply. We've actually added the import embedded objects ones. And I know that Sudha's waiting for the import embedded pictures, which we're going to add as well. But yeah, this is a new one actually. The ones that you can see in this tile are something that cannot be changed once the project has been created. The remaining ones can all be changed, or most of them can be changed. So we have different analysis settings, we have different pre-translation settings. You can select term bases, translation memories. I'm actually going to use a different one here. I'm going to use this one. You can apply master and working TMs and add as many reference TMs as you like. And of course you can also apply other light resources, including QA and LQA settings, segmentation rules, TM settings. I mean, you've probably seen them all before. So they can all be assigned directly from within Plunet, or alternatively, you can use a memoQ template and replace most of the stuff that you've seen right now with a template. Yeah, so those are the settings that we are going to use. I'm just going to run the integration now, and what you're going to see next is a window that gives us a feedback about what Plunet and memoQ are talking about in the background. The interesting part here is that you can actually see if you've used the integration before, is something that we have changed. It's something that I also mentioned at our conference last week, and that is that we have actually split down or narrowed down the processes to smaller individual processes to make sure that if something goes wrong, it's easier to track down where the problem was coming from. Ours actually started here, creating new project. This is the one that I just created. Yeah, so you can actually see if something goes wrong, where it went wrong. For example, when it, I don't know, sent project information to memoQ, or when it actually got information from memoQ. This is particularly important if you use a memoQ template, because you don't really see what happens in Plunet, but you want to know what TM has been applied, so you need to get that information back from the other side. Yeah, uploading source files, I mean, that's all the stuff that I wanted to do. Of course, you can also skip processes. You don't need to do all of that. It's up to you which ones you would like to apply and which ones not. And yeah, the system can automatically generate emails as well. So if there are any background processes in your set as project manager, it will automatically inform you if something throws an error, because you want to be aware of that, of course. All right, so I think this was quite a small file. Yeah, so we have 67 words context match, so this is going to be a really big challenge for me as a translator. I only need to confirm the segments pretty much and make sure that everything looks fine. Something that we have implemented as well, I'm going to open the analysis window real quick because this is a new feature, is that you can see at one glance how many files you're actually dealing with. Of course, I know that I uploaded 2 files, but if the file is coming from a request because the customer created it in the portal, and you are dealing with thousands of XML files, which one of our customers is, then you want to be able to see a number of files that you're dealing with, and this is something new that we have implemented. It's small, but it's nice. All right, so yeah, our order has been created, our memoQ project has been created in the back. What I'm going to do next is assign some jobs to our vendors, and I'm going to do a very simple workflow with just 1 translation and 1 revision job. I'm actually not even going to do the revision because I'm such a great translator to not show you repetitive stuff. So let me assign the translation job to a translator. And then let me show you another feature that we have implemented in this version, which I think is pretty cool as well. Of course, there are different ways how you can assign jobs to vendors. I'm going to just directly assign it, which is the easiest and the simplest to understand in a demonstration. But of course, you can also request multiple vendors. You can use first come, first serve with vendors. You can also request a better price if you're not happy with €1.68 for this job. You can ask them if they will do it for less than that. Yeah, you can also send out availability requests and those kinds of things. But I'm not going to do any of that. Something that you may want to be aware of is that you can also assign the 2 files to different vendors in the same role. So you can also set up 2 translation jobs and assign them to do 2 different vendors, of course. Yeah, let me also select something for the revision job, actually. So
how do you isolate what file goes to what vendor if you use 2 on the same job?
You do that in the Assign Files button right here, which allows you to actually assign which file should be going to which vendor. Carla, I hear your voice, but I don't see you.
I'm all the way in the back, sorry. You know what? So,
You completely hit this.
so the other vendor doesn't see the other file that is done for them?
They will only see the file that is assigned to them. Yeah,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
that's how it's done. We're actually going to improve this feature as well. There are a few more things that we want to add to that, but yeah, that's how it's currently done. A feature that's also on the development plan is slicing, which is something that has been requested by, I see someone nodding. Yes. Yeah, so slicing is something that will also be available soon. In addition to the regular roles in memoQ, we do have a lot of clients that actually work with sub-vendors that have their own memoQ server. So if that's a use case for you, then it's of course also possible to assign either individual steps of the workflow to them or the full workflow. So that's also a possibility. In that case, you wouldn't have a translation, revision 2 job, but you would have one that includes all of them. All right, let's assign this. So currently it's still in preparation. As soon as I assign it and the status of the jobs changes, I'm going to send out an email immediately to not wait for a response of them. Yeah, as soon as the status changes, the system automatically also pushes the information to memoQ. And there won't actually be a physical file exchange when you work with the memoQ workflow, but of course you may also work with vendors that don't have memoQ, or you may want to exchange files with vendors that don't work with any cat tool whatsoever. In that case, you want to send them bilingual files. So in addition to that, the integration also generates files like RTFs, XLIFs, Trados bilinguals, but also the target files, of course. We can export translation memories from memoQ projects, turn bases, QA reports. So there's a lot of other stuff that I'm not going to show today that you can also include and incorporate into your workflows in the system without ever having to touch memoQ. We actually do have big clients who have project managers that have never even seen memoQ, which is crazy, but it works. All right, so let me log in as the translator. But before I do that, I'm not logging into Plunet as a translator, but I'm logging into memoQ. So currently what you can see here is that you can see the memoQ user role that this person has in the memoQ project, and you can see that you can also assign ELM licenses to them, which I haven't done. Most of our clients are working with CAL licenses. But once this job has been delivered, this is going to look a little bit different. That's why I want to point it out how it looks right now. So let's do the translation in memoQ. I'm going to check out a local copy of the project. This is the one. Bending over all the time, my back starts hurting already. So let me open the file and just confirm all of that. File number 1, very small one. File number 2, everything was context matched, so I'm just going to do it quick and dirty and confirm it all at once. There we go. And delete it. Not delete it, deliver it, sorry. You can delete it too. Okay, so once the project has been delivered by the vendor, what happens is that it automatically goes to the next person in line. And in Plunet, what happens is it's going to take a moment because the memoQ client has to communicate with the memoQ server that has to communicate to Plunet. So it usually takes a couple of seconds. But I'm going to refresh it every now and then you will see that the status changed and the next job changes to in progress as well. Once the delivery of the job has taken place, which is now, which has happened right now, we had some clients that realized during the next step, the revision, that the translation was so poor that they actually had to reassign it to the translator and say, wow, this was a really bad job, you need to do this again. Or sometimes a job has been delivered and at some point the customer wants to add new files to the job, to the same job. They don't want to set up a new job, they just want to reactivate the same job. And for that purpose, we have implemented a new option that can be either set from here or also in the delivery dialog to indicate for a job that the job or the phase needs to be repeated in memoQ. Why was this important? Once the delivery in memoQ has taken place, the vendor won't be able to access this job again, right? So what you needed to do in the past is you had to open memoQ, which the project managers don't want. They want to do that in Plunet. And reset the workflow phase to make sure that the vendor could access the translation phase again. And now you just need to open the job that you want to repeat or that you want to reactivate and reset it. And in that moment, the vendor can automatically access their stuff in memoQ again and deliver it again and then continue with the rest of the workflow.
What about reassigning to different translator, like a manual one?
Of course, I mean that would just be a regular new job, and once you assign that, it would automatically.
It's not possible to do within this job.
You could do that, but we would not advise it, because in that case you will never be able to report what happened to that project before. You will never be able to track back that translator was really poor. We don't want to work with him again because of that job. So what you could do is you could set it to canceled and say this was so poor, we're not going to pay that, and create a new one.
What about other jobs? Can you reassign other jobs to be open again just for a short time without creating another job?
Of course, you can do that for all different workflow phases. Yeah? So it's not just limited to translation, you can do that for review 2, for all workflow phases that memoQ has.
Okay, great. And so the files, will the original delivery files still exist? I use it mostly for DTP, and this is a current problem that they don't want to keep opening new jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and so the original file will be there and then there'll be another file, or it will wipe out the original file?
Well, it depends on what the reason for the repeated phase is, right? So if the translation of the original files was so bad that you want to reset it, you just reset it and then have the files translated again, change the original files. Or if you add new files, there's a fly here. So, yeah, so if you add files to the existing job, then you can just add them to the job. Stuff that happens during presentations, and now a fly.
So if you reset the translation phase, then the poor translation remain, or is it deleted? Yes.
Well, it depends. It depends. it would be possible to already confirm and update roles after a translation job using memoQ templates. I don't know if anybody does that.
No, because of this question is just to reset the workflow. It should be current to the way that the project manager in memoQ right click and then change the workflow step back
Yeah.
to whatever. So nothing to do with the TM or assessment, just the status of the workflow.
Yeah. I mean, there is the possibility that the poor translation is in your project TM, if you work with project TM, so it would still pop up.
I'm wondering about the segments.
Mhm.
Are they just unconfirmed instead of?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that Plunet can add a new file to the job. So, right, has Plunet already supporting resend the same file with a different version? The source file get updated, basically.
You mean when you re-import the files?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. There is a possibility that you re-import files. Let me open up the file manager to show you. So where I uploaded the files before, I'm surprised you haven't seen that yet.
I'm not there to try it.
All right. So when you upload your source files, once you've created the memoQ project, you could upload a new version of that file and mark the one that you want to update as re-import. And yeah, you can do that for different languages. Yeah. Mhm. Let me know if you need help setting that up.
1600 plus files. Convey me.
Sounds fun.
Convey me to switch from content connector to use the Plunet.
Yeah. I mean, you can mark them all at once.
You will try.
All right. So, like I said, I'm not going to log in as the reviewer and confirm everything as a reviewer. I'm just going to manipulate it and set the status to delivered automatically, which automatically triggers the download of the target files. You may also see that we have actually changed also the names of the processes to make everything a bit clearer so that you can actually see what's happening. And once the download is completed, the target files will be available in Plunet. This could also be followed up by another automatic step. For example, the delivery of the target files back to your client with their preferred method by email, customer portal, content management systems. We have clients that even run certain scripts in between workflow steps or jobs. You could follow up with a DTP, but at the end of the day, with the integration, it's really just important that you can actually grab the files and get them back into Plunet without having to go there. Yeah, so I actually renamed them as well, in case I have projects with a lot of different languages. I know that this is a divided feature. Some clients love it because they would have to rename the files manually one by one if they didn't do it with the integration. Some clients hate it because their clients don't want the files to be renamed. So this is something up to you. You can use it, you don't have to. But I think it's very useful to see what language the file is in when you deliver it. But then again, the system also automatically generates folders for each target language. So even if you didn't rename them, the folders have the name of the target language so that your clients will see what language is delivered. And yeah, this is pretty much what I wanted to show you. I see that I'm well in time, so we still have 5 minutes for questions if you have any.
Maybe it's a no-brainer, but you already described a workflow where project manager would not even touch memoQ,
Right.
just work on Plunet. And you also mentioned the workflow where the project manager is informed about the poor quality of the translation. So if the PM does not touch memoQ, how does it get informed about the poor quality of the translation? Where does it get the reports from? How does it come through?
There are different ways. I already mentioned the QA report, which is one report type. One feature that we have on our roadmap is the LQA report. That's currently not available, but it will be. And the other way is that the person assigned or the vendor assigned to the revision job will just deliver their job and say, wow, this was really bad, you need to repeat this. And another option that Plunet offers is that you can also have your vendors rate each other or evaluate the quality of the previous job. So that would be another way of how you could make sure that you track it. There's always one person that doesn't mute their phone. Richard, congrats, you're the one today. Yeah, so that would be another method how you can do it. at the end of the day, it's really just a definition of process. So it's up to you what the preferred method is.
Does it happen that the PM kind of overrides the reviewer's assessment of the quality of the translation by, say, opening the QA report and taking a look at the QA categories, a number of issues found there, or does it always just run automatically when the PM does not use it? Always up to the reviewer to decide if the translation work is important enough to turn down the job or reset it?
No, it's not. If you wanted, you could also run a QA report export in between the translation and revision. We even have one client that takes it to another level who actually creates an export, or I don't know if it's a bilingual or the target export, in between every single workflow step. So they actually track the quality, the linguistic quality, or the quality of the translation or revision after every single step in the workflow. So they actually generate the files and have the files physically stored in Plunet, and then someone goes and opens the files and looks at the quality, because they want to be able to track it in every detail you can imagine. You could even generate a QA report and the target files in between every single workflow step that is assigned to a human, to make sure that they can actually prove later on that the quality was poor and that they have the files before anybody can manipulate them in memoQ. Any other questions? I see a hand, I see 2 hands, 3 hands.
I understand the slicing is not available for now, but how would you handle in Plunet a request? Let's say I have 4 file, 3 file, I don't need to split, and I need to split the 4 manually.
Well, in that case, I would assign the 3 ones that don't need splitting in Plunet, and slice the one that needs slicing in memoQ and assign that directly in memoQ.
Okay, and then what I do in Plunet after? Need to manually.
You need to manually upload the analysis files that are relevant for the sliced files. But that's, yeah, you just download a CSV and upload that to the job and update the job prices in Plunet.
Okay.
Yeah. Something that wouldn't work for the sliced files is the automatic delivery. So you saw that the job status changed automatically to delivered. For the sliced ones, that wouldn't work.
Okay. Thank you.
The second hand? Yeah.
Integration with finance program, do you have such?
Yes, but that's, it depends which one.
Salesforce?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not sure. That would be something that I'll have to check with my colleague. Yeah. I'm CAD integration expert, not the other stuff. Ian has been testing this integration for many, many years, and they're currently working with another integration.
It doesn't work, so we have it. It's a question really about setting up the users in memoQ. Obviously, there's some sort of association between Plunet and memoQ. But is there a way of doing that en masse? How easy is it? Can you customize how they're named in any way?
I didn't get the question, to be honest.
So how do you actually associate your Plunet user with your memoQ user, and you have some customization around the back of that?
So how do you establish the link? Let me show you. You have your, we call them resource, I don't like that word. I call them vendor or internals. So for all the people that require a link to memoQ, we have a user mapping in place. And you do that right here. You can see that we also have other integrations that allow you to do that. You can also create your own memoQ users from an existing Plunet user that would just push the information over to memoQ and create the new user there. You would still have to take care of the rights management. In addition to individual people, you can also have resources in Plunet that belong to organizations, a sub-vendor. If you have different contact persons for those sub-vendors, you can also link individual contact persons to their memoQ user. And on top of that, you can also link a sub-vendor group. I think in memoQ they're just called groups, to such an organization. If they have their own memoQ server, they're a sub-vendor, and you just assign a project to the group, and the project manager of that group would take care of the assignments of the individual workflow phases in memoQ.
If I wanted to create 400 memoQs from Plunet, is that something I can do in Plunet, or do I have to get clever?
Wait, if you want to create 400 memoQ users from existing Plunet users, well, we can talk about that. Ian. There's definitely a way how we can do that.
Oh, I could do it, I just want to use
I mean, you could do that one by one, but that's not fun, right?
volunteer.
Is that you can also link customer contact persons with memoQ users. So yeah, that's actually a new feature. If you want to incorporate your client in the workflow and assign a client review job to them, given that they are familiar with memoQ, you could do that as well. So you can see that I have 2 contact persons here for this client, and I can actually link my memoQ users to the client as well and assign them to a client review job. It's usually a review job, but we also have clients who actually have in-house translators that they assign jobs to. Can become complicated, but they had the need for such a thing. So you can now also link memoQ users with client contact persons. I think this is Tamash telling us we should stop. Thanks for joining.